So I have 5 new knives from 5 different companies to check out for the first time, so let's get it. So the first one is the KIZER Phoenix. Now the KIZER Phoenix has a Persian style, clip point buoy style blade shape. Now normally I'm not a huge fan of this blade shape, but I do gotta say that on this whole package here, it does actually work out pretty well. We have an S35VN blade, and if you look, it's got this cool fuller that actually does work as a deployment. We'll talk about that in a second. It does have steel liners, great access to the lock bar, and aluminum bolsters. So it has aluminum bolsters. I believe the backspacer's aluminum, and then the clip is a titanium clip. So aluminum, steel, and then we have this orange shred carbon fiber, and there's some spots of it that just that pop out a little bit more than others. Like right there, you can see a nice little shiny spot. So it does actually look pretty cool, especially with all the blacked out hardware. And another thing that I really appreciate is that it's all T8 hardware all the way around the entire knife. That is awesome. So in order to take this thing apart, it's one tool. Now, before we get into the action, the ergonomics are kind of what makes this knife. These are, and you can just kind of look at it and see, and I speak about this all the time, that when it goes from slimmer to thicker, it does something in your hand, because your pinky and your ring finger are what creates the most leverage with cutting. Because when you're going to cut, right? When you're going to cut, if I open my hand up, what's gonna happen if I go to cut? It's gonna go like this, right? So the handle's gonna go this way. So all I need is my pinky and my ring finger. The rest of my palm, it creates a base, and then my pinky and ring finger stop it from flipping out of my hand. So having it be nice and comfortable back there in that area makes for not only an incredible user, but a very comfortable user. Now, with this blade shape, it's not gonna be for everybody. It's more of a hunting style blade shape or self-defense style blade shape, just depending on your needs. But what's cool about it is because of these ergonomics, you can really bear down in this belly. So no, it's not gonna be the best utility cutter. You could use it in a pinch, but where it's gonna shine is in this belly area, where you can really, like, say, cutting ropes or cutting food, things like that. Even slicing, you have a decent flat area right here before you get to the belly where it'll slip out. So, you know, and because of the leverage, again, you're gonna be able to slice really, really, really well. So it actually works out pretty good, considering. Now, like I said, good access to the lock bar, very easy to get past the detent. The detent ball's nice and early, so it's easy to get past, and it is damn near fall shut action. It is very, very smooth. Great detent. They tuned it very well. And one thing I was kind of worried about, because the flipper tab is lower than the pivot, but if you look, it ramps up a lot higher on this side. So it is, you get more leverage than it looks like. But you know, they tune the detent in a good way to where it's not too strong, it's not too light, it's literally just perfect. If you break the detent, it's gonna flip every time. Then you have these chamfers right here on both sides, which is really nice because it allows you to get right to that thumb stud for a thumb or reverse flick. Then you have this fuller, like I was talking about earlier. So that fuller, it's tucked in there, but it actually lands right where, if I just naturally grip where my middle finger lands for the reverse flick, it lands right there on that spot. It was definitely planned, for sure. That little thing was definitely planned for your finger to land right there. One thing I do notice about this blade is when you run your fingers down it, right here, there's like a transition to like really thin. It's not gonna come over, you can maybe see it right there, but you feel it with the touch, which is really cool. It kind of thins out right up there at the front nose of, you know, of the blade, but it's not gonna affect, you know, anything as far as sharpening or anything goes. So that's really cool. Now, as far as negatives, I do wish the plunge grind was moved back. You know, it is very close to the edge. It's only going to be a couple sharpenings before I hit it. And The next thing, and this isn't that big of a deal, it's just the way this carbon fiber is. You know, this type of carbon fiber tends to have voids. So you'll see little tiny speckles here and there, little voids. It's not a big deal. It's just the way this carbon fiber is. There's no way around it. So if you want this type of carbon fiber, it's what it comes with. But, I'm still going to call it, because it is kind of imperfections, even though that is the way it's supposed to be. So, anyways, not too many negatives with this one. This one actually is really good. Like I said, the blade shape's just not my style. But if you're a hunter, fisherman, or something like that, this might be right up your alley and exactly what you need. In the clip, super smooth in and out of the pocket. I should have said that already. Good amount of tension, nice amount of spring. You have a nice cutout there, so it does, lessen up the weight and then also the tension. The next one is from Jack Wolf. Now, this is not a Jack Wolf slip, but you do know, or hopefully you know, Jack Wolf Knives does come with everything you need. You get a nice container, a nice big microfiber wipe. I love those wipes. I use them all the time. And I try to preserve them too because I like them so much. I don't want to take them out of each package, but some of them it's just like, I need this. But it comes with a slip, and then this slip is actually from John Powell, who is starting to make slips. So hopefully we're going to see a lot more of his work on the channel. He's actually developing something pretty cool here with a pulley system for a slip. Now this is just a prototype, so it's still, it's still in the phases, but as you can see, he's got the stitch, and then the color of the leather matching the knife that, you plan on putting it in. So that's really, really cool. So I'm excited to see everything that comes from him in the future. He's just getting started, him and his son, but I think they're going to be going places. They're doing great work. Now, the Jack Wolf Knives Vampire Jack. Now, I already have a Vampire Jack, and I will say there's actually one huge difference between the two. And, I don't think it's a negative at all, but my original one was about 6,000, 7 thousandths behind the edge. This one's more like 18, 19, up to 21 thousandths. Just depends on where you measure it. However, it's still a deep hollow grind, and I talk about this all the time, that it doesn't matter if a knife is 20 thousandths behind the edge. If the 20 thousandths stretches up the blade at a high level to where it doesn't get thicker behind the edge until you get way up the blade, which is the way this is. It is nice and thin. I wouldn't have even, realized it because of how deep the hollow grind actually is, but these are a little bit thicker than the originals. Now, that could be a good thing, and let me explain. One, the edge on S90V, being 5, 6, 7 thousandths, yeah, it's awesome. It's going to cut really well, but it is going to be fragile. It's just, there's no way around it. There's no way around it. S90V at 7 thousandths is going to be fragile. So this makes it to where it's going to be basically just as slicey. I don't think you'll even notice the difference in cutting performance, but you will notice a little bit of difference in edge, from the edge, rolling, chipping, micro chipping, things like that. So it should hold a little bit of strength. Beautiful satin finish. Love the swedge. This is my favorite blade shape. It's such a versatile blade shape. And then this handle, I spoke about this with the original one. These little peaks right here don't get in the way. Not even a little bit. Even in the reverse grip, your 2 fingers land on top, your bottom 2 fingers land underneath, the pointy part lands right in between your fingers. You can cut straps, you can do utility cuts. In the forward grip, same exact thing. So it is mega, mega comfortable. And then when you come back here to the back part of the handle, you see how it chamfers around. So like when it's like pushed into your palm, there's no sharp corners or anything, which I do really like because I do have another Jack Wolf that has a little sharp corner back there, and as much as I loved it at first, it's something that over time has kind of not annoyed me in a way to where I don't like the knife, but it's something that I've noticed over time that's made me kind of be observant about that area, at least on other knives. The walk and talk, this one's not as loud as some of my other ones, but it's also still breaking in. And I have man, I have a lot of Jackals now. And some of them were the exact same way when they first came out, and they just got better and better and better. And I feel like that's what this one's gonna do. Actually, my loudest and most satisfying one right now was, I don't know if it was the least satisfying one at first, but it was the one that, you know, it just, over time, it just got snappier and snappier and snappier and louder and louder. And now, man, that thing is just, it's a beast. But this one's still nice and loud. Nice tension. Nice strong pull, nice strong snap. I'd call this a 7 on the open, and then a 7 on the all the way open after the half stop. Yeah, because listen to that snap. Just listen to that. That thing pops in there. It almost feels like it's locked. Of course, you can, you know, get past it, but it's a nice strong tension. And over time, you know, like I was saying, you know, those things, it kind of will break in a little bit more and more, which is really nice, but it'll still hold on to a nice strong tension for years to come. These things are just absolutely phenomenal, flawless. You know, in my opinion, and I've handled a lot of slip joints at this point, and it's not that I'm a huge slip joint guy. I'd love to get more on the channel, but Jack Wolf has been the kind of the pinnacle. Maybe that's the wrong word. They've been the knives that, in my opinion, have just been like the ones that have really brought me to the slip joint world. Now, I still love the classic looks and the vintage looking ones, but you know, something about modern, traditional, or should I say, something that holds on to the traditional values but is done in modern materials, that just, it always speaks to me. I always love it. October 20th, 11 a.m. Pacific time or 2 p.m. Eastern time is when these will be dropping. I'll make sure I post another video on that day. Now, let's check out the next one. Now, the next one I actually don't have, but this is a knife that, well, first of all, the Brazen. Let's just say it right now. This is the original Brazen, which is the CIVIVI Brazen. The CIVIVI Brazen is very awesome. It got one of the best work knives of the year in one of my videos. It came out a couple years ago, and it was alongside the Riffle. And the Brazen and the Riffle went head to head. I did a video with them going head to head. This is an absolute awesome, awesome knife. This is a great user, a great gift knife, a great everything. It has multiple forms of deployment, fantastic action, 14C28N, internal stop pins, nice strong liner lock with a good cutout for the lock bar. Lots of great qualities about this knife. TA hardware all the way around, reversible deep carry clip. Now, they had a Tanto version in D2. And I was always like, why? Why'd they do D2 on that? However, now they have another version coming right now. I believe you can pre-order it, so if you wanted to get it, you can. In a Tanto 14C28N, but now with a button lock. So instead of having the liner lock, if you love the Brazen, but you're not into liner locks, well, they have a button lock version coming, and it does look really cool. And because it's 14C, you know, I think that it'll get a lot more attention. You know, it has a good looking Tanto as well. It's more of like a, what do you call it? It's more of an Americanized Tanto, which is the kind of Tantos that I personally love the most. Anyways, like I said, everything will be linked down in the description from this video, so if you did want to get in on it, you can. It is up for pre-order. And now, the next one is going to be really quick because I already did a full video on it, but I'm just going to say it really quick. You can get the XL or the large version of the REATE EXO locking right now. They are available, so you can get a locking large version. Everybody was freaking out when the medium version came out. Man, I wish they just did a large version that was locking. I wish they just did a large version. Well, they have. So now you got it. It's just, it's in a, and a lot of people would prefer this, a sheep's foot blade or a reverse Tanto, whatever you want to call it. So you do have the option to get the large one. And then there's a mini, not the medium size, the mini. This is a small one. This just came out yesterday. or just recently. Anyways, so you can see, you know, the medium-sized one's like this big. This is a mini, so this is under 3 inches, the blade. But it comes in multiple different blade shapes, different handle materials. It is locking and does have the clip. That's the one difference between the big one with the lock. It does not have a clip. But, you know, it does come with a pocket slip and everything, and it's locking, so you just drop it down in your pocket. Anyways, this one being a mini, these things are so snappy. These are the snappiest ones yet because the blade is small. So it's such a light flick of the wrist to get it out. That was my fault. It's such a light flick of the wrist to get it out. And, you know, like I said, different blade shapes, it locks, it's really cool. Full 4-finger grip. So even though this thing is small and compact, this is a fantastic size, like a really, really good size. Obviously I love the large one, you know, it's got that large pokey blade, but heck man, this thing is no slouch right here. So anyways, I will have them linked down in the description for you. Let's get to the next one. The last one. The last one, I've actually checked out of the brown version of these, but I do have a little bit to say. So there are some things I really like about it, but there's also some things I dislike about it. And I've noticed it even more now that I have 3 different versions of it. Don't get me wrong, it's a cool knife. I do like it to some extent, but I'll go over the reasons why I'm kind of starting to dislike it just a little bit. One thing, I love the thumb studs. Nice, big, oversized thumb studs, 14C 28N. You know we love that. You have this little fuller there, so you can reverse flick off the fuller and thumb flick or reverse flick off of the thumb stud. And like I said, the thumb stud's so big, it offers a great placement for your finger, and they have this nice chamfer right there, so it does have a nice launch spot. The ergonomics on the micarta handles are really, really comfortable, especially for a compact knife. I think it has a good look to it. I do think it is a good looking knife. It almost has, you know what? What is it? The Maxace Hephaestus has this same style blade shape, and I love it. I love the blade shape. Really, really cool. Now, this one's a lot more compact and smaller than the Hephaestus, and this is a button lock. Deep carry clip, not reversible, and it does have small T6 hardware all the way around. Now, what are my negatives? Because, you know, it does have quite a bit going for it, especially for an affordable little budget knife. Well, one thing is I hate this front flipper. This front flipper, they shouldn't have put a front flipper on this. I just kind of look at it like it doesn't have one. Yes, I can obviously do it, but when you break it, it's like, it feels awkward because you have to like go up and get, you know, it almost feels like you're losing control on the knife when you do it because you're trying to do it and trying to make it work. It's not a good front flipper. Yes, you can do it, but man, just this ramp going up gets in the way. It's too short. It needs to be a lot taller, and then it would work just fine. The next thing is when I push the button, it doesn't just close. So if I show you guys the CIVIVI Cubit, when I push the button, it just drops. See that? Just drops. I don't have to swing it. I don't have to do anything. This one, if I push the button, it does not just drop. But all of them are kind of like that, where they kind of get hung up a little bit. Now I can swing it, of course. So it's not that big of a deal, and this is a small nitpick, but it's something that I just noticed, you know, like, it's not that satisfying. And then the next thing is where they put this stop pin, the last stop pin, which would be the closing stop pin, is right behind the edge. Now the problem with that is that that's where I sharpen this steel, right? Granted, this is in the thicker area. I don't think you'll ever sharpen back that far, but with a plunge grind like this, I have to sharpen into the plunge grind or cut in a sharpening choil. Which one? You got to choose your battle here. So either one, I create a smile and I sharpen into the plunge grind, or number 2, I cut in a choil, which I cannot do. So it prevents me from cutting in a choil. That's number 1. And number 2, it has the possibility of getting hit by my stone when I sharpen into the plunge grind in order to make the edge go all the way back to here. Otherwise, I got to make the edge, you know, start more forward and more forward as time goes on, and it'll start recurving, and it just becomes a mess. So All in all, I think Remette's doing a good job. I would like to see a lot more from them. This model is just not for me, and there's just a lot of flaws I'm finding on it, especially over time. You know, there's some great qualities to it, and I see a ton of potential, but you know, it could definitely be better. Anyways, work hard, stay tough. Until next time, peace.